Hello ladies and gentlemen, in this video we are going to be coloring and labeling our periodic table, and this is going to be your student copy that you will be using the rest of the school year. You will need these colored pencils. You'll need purple, blue, red, another blue, green, black, and yellow. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is we need to outline a couple of different elements in red. So the first element that we're going to outline is hydrogen. So using your red colored pencil, we're going to outline hydrogen. And we're also going to want to highlight the elements that are on the right side over here, starting with carbon. And we're going to be doing our non-metals. I am go under I and under SC. Okay, so all of these elements that I've just outlined are what we call our non-metals. Okay, so our non-metals are outlined in red. Okay, so we are going to want to make a key. So on my periodic table, in the right-hand corner here, I'm going to write non-metals, and I'm going to shade it this red. Okay, so I know that those are all my non-metals. Now, I don't really want to go over what's in the box because we're going to be using that information, but I do want to distinctively see that my non-metals are with the red. Okay, so there we go. So everything on the right is a non-metal, and hydrogen, even though it's located on the left-hand side, is still considered a non-metal. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to want to outline our metalloids. So I am going to be using my blue to indicate that I'm coloring my metalloids. All right, so with our metalloids, we have boron, boron is a metalloid, and then we've got silicon, germanium, we have arsenic, we have antimony, we have tellurium, and we have astatine. Okay, so we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 metalloids. And those are all in blue. Okay, that means that the rest of these elements on here are my metals. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on my key. So I know that everything else that's in green is a metal. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to outline the outside of the rest of this periodic table. Now also, we do want to outline down here that this is green. So if you look at this area of the periodic table, it actually is taken out. So this is number 57. So this, we kind of like, if we put this here, our periodic table would be very long on the bottom. So the way that we can get it on one sheet of paper is by showing that these two rows actually follow barium and radium. Okay, so they are metals. All right, so now we have all of our metals outlined. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to draw a black water droplet or a dot to show the elements that are liquid at room temperature. Okay, so the elements that are liquid at room temperature are mercury, which is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to draw a black dot. Okay, so I got mercury, and then I also have bromine. Okay, so mercury and bromine, do a little dot here up in my upper right-hand corner to show that their phase at room temperature, they are a liquid. Okay, that's what it means. So it's a liquid at room temperature. So that's mercury and bromine. Now I'm going to draw a red balloon in the boxes of elements. I'm just going to do a dot. I'm going to do a red dot in all of the boxes in which those elements are gases at room temperature. Okay, so the elements that are gases at room temperature are going to be hydrogen. And then we're going to come over here to nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine, and then all of our noble gases, which are group 8. Okay. All right, on the next one we're going to do is we're just going to know that every other element is a solid at room temperature if there is not a black or a red dot in the box. Okay, now we're going to move to column 1. So column 1 over here, we want to label it, and we are going to label it alkali metals. A-L-K-A-L-I, metal. Okay, that is this group right here, group 1. And we are going to shade that group green. Now, it's not hydrogen, because hydrogen is a gas, and it's also considered a non-metal. So we're only shading the elements in the first group, which are the alkali metals. The next group we're going to shade in blue. I'm doing a light blue, so you want to do a light shading, ladies and gentlemen, so you can still see all of the information that is in the boxes. Okay, and I'm going to label that alkaline earth metals. That's group 2. Okay, for groups 3 through 12, I'm not going to color them, but I am going to label them. They are the transition metals. Okay, and those are groups 3 to 12. Okay. So that starts over there and it goes all the way over there. All right. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and get my purple crayon, and I'm going to be coloring in this column right here, which are my halogens. So I'm going to lightly shade that in. Okay, and astatine counts, and so does the element right underneath it, even though that is considered a metalloid. And we're going to label that halogens. And that's group number 7. And then the last group we're going to label is this last group here, which are called the noble gases. And I'm going to shade those yellow. Okay, so at this point, you should have the 5 different groups that you will need to know: alkali metals, alkaline earth metals, transition metals, halogens, and noble gases. And what we're going to do now is we are going to label the periods on the periodic table. So using your pencil, okay, we're going to start over here where it says group 1. It's actually already labeled for you, so I don't even need to label those. But if you look over here, you've got 7 different periods. So just know that periods, they go left to right. So that might be something you'll want to write on your periodic table. Okay? So if I said what elements are in period 1, you would tell me hydrogen and helium. If I asked you what elements are in period 3, you would say sodium, magnesium, aluminum, silicon, and so forth. Okay, so periods go left to right. I always tell my students, just remember when you write a sentence, you always end it in a period, and you write your sentences left to right. Okay. You might want to actually write down here 6 and 7, because these guys were snipped out from over here. Okay, so do that. All right, now we're going to go ahead and label our valence electrons. So our valence electrons, they go with what group number we have. So I'm going to use a black crayon, and I'm just going to write 1 above group 1, 2 above group 2. The number of valence electrons will vary in the transition metal group. I'm going to write group 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so I have 1 through 8 labeled above each of those columns, and that will tell me the number of valence electrons I have. Okay, that's all you got to do. All right, so your periodic table should look like that. Make sure that you do have your name on them. That's very important because you will need this the rest of the year.